Testing, 1, 2, 3. I wonder if anybody in here can stop right now and put your hands together and thank God that you are in this place. I'm wondering something else. If there's anybody in here that can stop right now and praise that same God for the birth of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. On behalf of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference of Greater Kansas City, my name is Dr. Vernon Howard. We welcome you to this awesome assembly and this beautiful facility. We should thank God for Dr. Wallace S. Hartsfield II and the Metropolitan Missionary Baptist Church for hosting us for this wonderful event today. We greet you in the name of Jesus Christ, and we welcome you to SCLC's 2023 Martin Luther King Jr. Community Forum and Mass Celebration, taking place today, just a few days after the city of Kansas City, Missouri's City Council, with the support of the mayor of Kansas City, Mayor Q, imbued and empowered by many people on this panel who moved forward and advocated for an ordinance to put into place within 90 days a commission to study and make recommendations for the reparations of black people in Kansas City. We are grateful and we are thankful to be able to provide education, inspiration, mobilization, and to provide advocacy and agitation, because we know that this is just the beginning. Today, our panelists represent, most of them, the Kansas City Reparations Coalition, which is where this movement began, spawned and birthed by the activism of the National Black United Front Kansas City chapter and organizations including Sankofa for KC, National Black United Front, SCLC, NAACP, and others including Muhammad's Mosque Number 30, Urban League, and the Urban Summit, which has our founder and convener and visionary here. Won't you put your hands together and thank and praise God for the Bishop James D. Tyndall Sr. Bishop, won't you stand up if you can? The mayor of Kansas City is here as well. This commission is named after the mayor in an indirect way. It is the mayor's commission on reparations. Brother Mayor, we're glad you're here. Mayor Q, God bless you. Let's give him a hand as well for his support. Each panelist will speak for 3 to 5 minutes initially, and then we will open up this forum to community. If you do have a question or response or comment, we will have microphones that are passed to you, but we will allow the panelists to speak first. We will begin with panelist Will Bowles, co-chair of the KC Reparations Coalition. We will then go to Sister Janae Relaford, member of the KC Reparations Coalition and chair of Choice Camps. We will then go to Justice Gatson, chair also of the KC Reparations Coalition. And we will move forward with Maury Williams, Assistant Managing Editor for Race and Equity Issues, who has led the movement for reparations internally in the KC Star. And then, of course, the city councilman, without which this would not happen. She stood up to the challenge, took the bold step to lead in this ordinance, none other than our 3rd District City Councilwoman, Councilwoman Melissa Robinson. God bless you. We will go to her. And then we will go to comments and questions and inquiries from you, the community forum. Won't you receive now our dearly beloved brother, co-chair of the KC Reparations Coalition, Brother Will Bowles, for 3 to 5 minutes. We will be holding every person to time limits that have been established. God bless you.
Thank you for all being here. Now be honest with yourself. Through over 265 years of chattel enslavement, reparations were due well before General Sherman's Field Order number 15. However, after he needed a massive amount of blacks to march a warpath cross-country with him into the Deep South, he chose to seek out the wants of the black collective voice. It was a group of ministers and reverends in the South that was asked, what do you all want as a means of retribution? Their collective calling was land and something to be able to work the land. It was then that General Sherman crafted a promise of 40 acres and a mule. Our intellectuals even then were already in the knowledge of how the Federal Homestead Act of 1862 was given 160 acres of land to people who settled on it and agreed to farm the land for 5 years. It gave over 500 million acres of land during its time enacted in federal law, which ended federally in 1986, but surprisingly is still going on now in various municipalities. Shocking, but true. The sad truth is that blacks were excluded from receiving any land from this law, with 99.7% of all recipients being white families. This land came from vast amounts of property taken from natives who were forced to move off their land. There are still many white families whose wealth is directly attributed to the land given from this law. One black group that actually obtained some farmland was tortured and burnt to the ground, being the oldest homestead plot granted to blacks and the sole plot still occupied in Nicodemus, Kansas. This is just another form of where we've been excluded from reaping benefit and where we have been exploited from what we've actually gained from our hard work and sacrifice. This led to the Jim Crow era. We are well aware of the images that come to mind when separate but unequal is mentioned. The images of full blast fire hose let it onto our families while ferocious police dogs attacking our children. But this started directly after enslavement ended. Terrorism at voting polls shut our voting ability. Neighborhoods shut us out from purchasing homes. Redlining further harmed these prospects. Black towns that owned and bought their own land developed churches, communities, businesses, etc. They were bombed and ransacked by the Klan. Lynchings, mass murders of towns like in Oklahoma were common. This came from private entities and governmental forces and things such as Tuskegee experiments and other intentional diseasing of soldiers, our people and their families. Finally, enough was enough, and we fought again for our civil rights. We must take a moment in silence to honor the ultimate sacrifice of all those lives lost, men, women, and children, that led us to have the freedoms we live today. For each life and every drop of blood constitutes the reason we move freely today. We will righteously move in the same accord to live out the continuance of their sacrifices, because we still have mountains to move in order to secure our rightful place, and we will do so to guarantee our children an even better and more prosperous freedom than we live today. Back to the history. Even though civil liberties were passed in '64, we still experienced the same plight. The government went all holds barred with mass incarceration, unjust sentencing of cases, racial profiling, sterilization of children in education facilities, My mother was almost a victim of these very same things here in KC, Missouri. And so my siblings and I are lucky to even be here today. They dumped drugs and guns into our black neighborhoods to destroy families. And with all this destruction, each and every time, we solely are left to pick up the pieces and move forward while facing stigmas through the whole process. All of this torment is why reparations are important. Is there even a question to the purpose? As the ordinance references, by assets alone, the net worth of the black family is 8 times less than whites. Continuance at this rate would take over 250 years just for us to reach equal grounds. This is what reparations measures are meant to expedite and remediate. Not to mention the health and education effects. We must see to it to right these wrongs that have been implicated upon us by all of these unwarranted tragedies. It is up to every single one of us to do our part to ensure we are making a better future for the entirety of the Kansas City community. We have compiled a massive amount of research into each injury area we've studied, and now it's the time to bring some action into the mix. My dad has said since I was a kid, only 1% of people will take a stand for what they truly believe in. The other 99 will reap the benefits. We are the 1%. And we are asking you to join us in this fight to be a positive part of the horizon future in Kansas City.
Good afternoon, all. Janae Relaford, member of the Kansas City Reparations Coalition, and I'm going to give a snippet of the history of the national reparations movement. So I'm going to talk a little bit about H.R. 40. It was established in 1989 by Representative John Conyers. He passed in 2019, and Representative Sheila Lee introducing the bill in 2018 due to Conyers' retirement at that time. In April of 2021, H.R. 40 reached historical status by finally being voted out of the House of Representatives Judiciary Committee. It was ready to go to vote before the full House, and because Democrats were in control of the House, it was sure to get the 218 votes needed to pass the legislation. However, what had happened was, due to fear of losing control of the House, House leaders Nancy Pelosi and James Clyburn did not bring H.R. 40 forth for vote. Now, with Republicans in control of the House, H.R. 40 is mute. However, Democrats are looking to Joe Biden to sign an executive order to finally pass this long-awaited and necessary legislation. So that's a little bit on H.R. 40. Now, we have actually had a city to issue reparations, which is Evanston, Illinois. In 2019, they awarded $25,000 towards home ownership, repairs, mortgage, to about 16 families. And their eligibility requirements were that you had to either live in Illinois or be a direct descendant of city resident from 1919 to 1969, or have be identified as black on an official document, and they had to be at least 70 years or older. And so Evanston, Illinois, they have allocated $10 million annually from marijuana sales tax to go into this reparation fund to continue it year after year. The first state to develop a reparations commission is California. They did that in 2020. And then it was followed by Maryland. They also have a reparations commission, and they started it in 2022. And so there are several cities across the nation that also have commissions, Kansas City, Missouri being one. San Francisco, California, Los Angeles, California, Sacramento, California. And I do believe that California has so many cities that are coming up with these commissions because the state backs it. Iowa City, Amherst, Boston, Greenbelt, Maryland, St. Paul, Detroit, St. Louis, Asheville, Carborough, North Carolina, Providence, Rhode Island, and Austin, Texas. So we're well on our way.
What do we want? And when do we want it? What do we want? And when do we want it? What do we want? And when do we want it? That's right. That's right, Kansas City. And we deserve reparations. I'm going to tell you why. Now, please forgive me. The devil be busy, and I'm locked out of my notes. But I got it up here, and more importantly, I got it in my heart. Yes, yes. So as we came together, there were many points that we could say this is harmful, that is harmful, but we wanted to hone things down to 5 injury areas. And so over the course of a couple of years that we've been working together now, we have really studied home ownership and affordable housing, education, business and economic development, health care, and criminal justice. And I want to say a little bit about each of these and why they're important, why we're focusing on those. Home ownership and affordable housing. I ain't got to tell you, y'all can probably tell me. Y'all know. It takes the bulk of a family's income, the housing piece. And historically, we have been left out. We look a little ways down to the plaza area, and we see where the father, redlining, who erected an entire plaza district and houses that wrote us out inside of their covenants. They could not sell their houses to black folks, to Jews. So these are discriminatory practices that were embedded not only in this city, but he made the replica for other cities to continue that kind of discrimination. And so that's why we don't have the kinds of housing that we need, the housing stock that we desire. It's not because we don't work hard. We work harder than anybody else. It is because the discriminatory practices, the redlining, the discriminatory practices in the home loan policies, all of those things came together to create what we have now. 2 Americas, one for black folks and one for white folks. Nobody can tell us that that is a lie. We have been living it. Education. My school, I heard, Genesis School, is trying to close down. Say it ain't so. Because without that school, I wouldn't be the person that I am. I wouldn't be the fearless, dynamic leader. I wouldn't. Genesis raised me up. Mamie Isler, if y'all know her, my goodness, the children that she, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't know about a spook who sat by the door. I wouldn't. It wasn't introduced to me over at Central. I had to go where the teachers who cared about the students in the black alternative school where they threw the kids away, those teachers loved us. And I came here, SCLC, sung in the choir because of Mamie Isler. Genesis School cannot go. And so education, we've had to fight. Ever since I was a little girl, there's been a fight over education. And so we all know that truth. Business and economic development, sorely lacking those funds for business, economic, and development. We can't get anything because nobody is helping us. Healthcare. As a black doula and a person who works with midwives, I know the history of the criminalization of black midwifery. We gave birth to our children at home with auntie and mama and grandma. not in a factory of a hospital that's only turning out births for capitalistic gain. While we die, in Missouri, black mamas dying 4 times more than our white counterparts, and our babies are too, at 2 times more. And it ain't because we don't have what we need, it's because of racism, discrimination. Every system that we have, education, business, healthcare, criminal justice, we ain't talk about that one yet. I call it criminal injustice. The amount of people that the Midwest Innocence Project has had to go get our brothers and sisters out of those cages because they were innocent. The amount of people that are behind bars. And let's not to mention that even if there was a crime, I believe in restorative justice. Our folks can't get free, and they can't heal, and they can't be restored behind a bar, behind a cell. And so when we're talking about what we're fighting for, these are some of the things that we're fighting for. These are the injury areas. And in our work on the coalition, we have identified, we ain't gonna say, you know, someone says, this happened to me, this happened to me. No, we're gonna tell you who did it to us. Because we have the historical facts. We know who did it to us. We can point to the systems. We can tell you who hurt us. And so we intend to lay that out. We actually have laid that out. And we will continue to make recommendations to our dear mayor. We appreciate him. We appreciate him putting this together. And we want to say to our community, make sure that you follow us. Make sure that you keep in touch with us. We're going to need you. Our dear Mama Reverend Esther is going to tell y'all some more about that later. But please, 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 if anybody ever says, why y'all fighting for that? I've already told you. You've already lived it. So what do we want? And when do we want it? What do we want? And when do we want it? What do we deserve? And when do we deserve it? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marae Rose Williams. I am a new assistant managing editor for race and equity at the Kansas City Star. And before I go any further, let me just say I'm the first African-American woman to rise to that level at the Kansas City Star. So that says something right there. So I'm not an expert on reparations, but I do know journalism. I've been a journalist for 40 years. And in 2020, when this country was going through its reckoning on race, I had the audacity to present to my editors that we needed to look inward at the harm we had done as a newspaper, how we had perpetuated racism in Kansas City. We did that through omission, commission, ignoring the black community, reporting on the black community unfairly, inaccurately, perpetuating racism. And by doing that, we did harm not only to our black brothers and sisters, but we also did harm to the entire city. Because, and this was my argument, because if the only thing we are writing about are black people as perpetuators of crime or victims of crime, uneducated or poorly educated, not willing to work, those kinds of things, then our white brothers and sisters who don't go to school with black folks, don't live next door to black folks because of systemic racism and redlining, don't work with black folks because of racism. The only thing they know about their black brothers and sisters and their black neighbors is what they read in this influential paper, the Kansas City Star. So what are they supposed to assume? So it perpetuated racism, and that was my argument. And we needed to apologize for that. But an apology is not reparations. An apology is just an I'm sorry. And that was not enough for me. And I said so. I said, and we can't just say I'm sorry. Other newspapers had written apologies and one-page or front-page apology for years of perpetuating racism. Yes, we wanted to do that, but I also thought we needed to also show people what that looked like. Go back and find some of these stories that we should have written in a certain way and did not do. We needed to do a series of stories that pointed to the failures and the harm that we had done. Because I didn't want anybody to say to me, okay, you made this apology, but for what? Here it is. I wanted people to see it. And it wasn't hard to find it because for decades and decades and decades, the Kansas City Star had failed to do justice by reporting on their black brothers and sisters in Kansas City. We had the black citizens of Kansas City. We had just failed completely. And so my editors they didn't even bat an eye. I mean, it was just so obvious. They said, okay, let's do it. And not only are we going to do it, you take the lead on it. Sometimes we have to be careful what we ask for. But that's okay. I was ready and I was prepared to do that. So we did a series of 6 stories that actually revealed, what the Kansas City Star had done for so many years. But that's still not reparations, right? In my opinion, and I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I got this right, reparations begins with a reckoning. You first have to deal with and grapple with the fact that a wrong was committed, right? And where there is harm, reparations is in order. So we had to first admit that we had failed, that we had caused harm. Some people see reparations as a monetary give back, but I think reparations is an ecosystem of repair. It is not just one thing, right? It's not just handing a check to somebody. Although I will say that newspapers did profit. They did profit. There were newspapers that advertised lynchings, right? They told people when and where to go, and those were advertisements, so they got money for that. There were newspapers that advertised announcements for formerly enslaved people seeking their freedom, right? So they did profit from that. But that's not where I wanted to go with that. I wasn't asking anybody to give money. I was asking for good journalism. I was asking for us to do it right? Because I think that another part of reparations is not just the reckoning, but it is the acknowledgement and the admitting responsibility for the harm and pledging that it will never be repeated. That we have to take accountability, and that the Kansas City Star needs to take accountability and do redress on that, and we're doing that. The first thing that we did was to put together an advisory board, and we made mistakes. We put together an advisory board, and that advisory board represented historically marginalized communities: Hispanic, Asian, young, black, and also LGBTQ. And we started with that, and then we recognized that's not the target. That's not the target. We were missing the target. The target is our Black Kansas City. So we are restructuring the advisory board. It is now the Kansas City Star Black Advisory Board, because that's the target. Other things that we did was, in addition to that, we hired our first race and equity editor on the metro level. We put 5 reporters underneath that person to get into the community, to connect with the community, to talk to the community. Well, I didn't want us to we are not the community's voice, right? We are not the voice of the community. We are the voice for the community. And that is a difference in that. Words matter. So that means that everything the community tells us is not necessarily something we're just going to go ahead and write, but we're going to do the research, we're going to spend the time and tell this and get to the truth, because that's what journalism is supposed to be about. It is supposed to be about truth seeking. It is supposed to be about justice seeking. It is supposed to be about saving the threat to our democracy, the salvation of our democracy. And that's what I want the Kansas City Star to do. And we're doing that. In addition to that, they hired me as the assistant managing editor for race and equity, which means that now we have somebody in a level of authority to direct our coverage, to make sure that we stay on course, to make sure that the needs are met, to get out into the community, to start bridging this cavernous gap between the newspaper and the black community in Kansas City. That's not going to happen overnight. My daddy used to say, a deuce and a quarter don't turn on a dime. And that's the truth. That means it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. But we need the support of the community. I can't be everywhere. I can't be everywhere. I need for Kansas City's black community to trust that in my heart of heart, I want to make sure that you are seen, that you are no longer invisible, that you are heard, and that we get this right. We have to get it right. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa Robinson. I have the honor and privilege of being the 3rd District City Council member for the City of Kansas City. One of the things about reparations that it does is provides a comprehensive approach to addressing issues that many of the individuals that I represent have to deal with. And so to be conscious, to be black, to be a woman, to be a council member, and to not have reparations is like doing policy with one arm tied behind your back. Because you're running, you're seeing what's happening, you're trying to do so many different things and going in different ways when we really know that equity is not enough. We do need reparations now. Just to give you a little bit of context of the City Council, I do see some of my colleagues that are in the audience, so I would just ask them to stand. I'm going to give you my opinion. This is just my opinion. They're wonderful, awesome people, because it takes 7 votes to pass anything. So, Councilwoman Raina Park-Shaw is here. Don't sit down. Don't sit down. Councilman Lee Barnes is here. And our fine mayor, Mayor Quentin Lucas is here. We have to work together. Don't sit down yet, because I want to tell them a little bit about you all. So Mayor Lucas allows me to agitate, and then he cleans it up and packages it up and makes sure that it's palatable. And so this is the Mayor's Commission for Reparations. This is his commission. He's provided leadership to this, and we thank you for it. And before we got started here, the Kansas City Reparations Coalition reminded us that Mayor Lucas took bold leadership nationally and signed a letter committing to reparations with 10 other mayors across the nation. So thank you for all that you do, and very honored and blessed to be on a team with you. Okay, now let's go to Mr. I call him Dean Lee Barnes, because Councilman, yes, clap it up for Councilman Barnes. Councilman Barnes is the senior council member, as we would call him, and he's always available to give help, to support. He co-sponsored this legislation with me and others, and is always trying to, just don't say you're going to do it, but let me tell you how to get it done, how to do it. So thank you so much, Councilman Barnes, for your leadership as well. Now my sister, Councilwoman Raina Park-Shaw, who is a progressive advocate in her own right, passing bold legislation, also a co-sponsor of this ordinance, and has been working diligently and hard on many, many issues, including affordable housing, houselessness, youth employment. She is just doing an amazing job, and it's an honor to serve with all of them. Thank you so much. Well, and I just say all that to say is that it does require a collective. This passed 10-1. 2 council members were not there during the vote, but 10 is God's number for victory. So we did reach victory. We did have more than enough votes to make this a reality. I want to tell you a little bit about the ordinance. It has 4 sections. The first section is really about an apology. Editor Murray Williams, she talked about that. It's very important for the city of Kansas City to issue an apology first for its participation in oppression, segregation, and slavery. The second part of it has to do with our expectations and encouragement for others to do the same. The city of Kansas City is over $1 billion agency. We do a lot of business with a lot of people, and we interact with many different sectors. And the Section 2 allows us the ability to have that conversation with our partners, with our stakeholders, with our contractors, with others, and encouraging them to take these bold steps as well. Section 3 of the ordinance really talks about the commission. Again, I thank the mayor for his flexibility of making sure that we got 13 members on the commission so that we could do the work that needs to be done. The Kansas City Reparations Coalition worked very, very hard and brought us this policy. They knew about the injury areas that Justice Gadsden talked about. They want to make sure that we're not set up for failure and that there's enough members on the commission to do that work. The fourth section really has to do with the reporting and making sure that they're going to, if I miss the different sections, don't worry, I'm giving you all of the details. I may have gotten the numbers a little off, but there is a section in there that they will come back with the preliminary report at 6 months, and then they will come back with the final report after a year. There is a fierce urgency of now. We don't want to rush this, but we want to make sure that we're moving swiftly. The commission is expected to be seated within 90 days. The other piece is that the Kansas City Reparations Coalition expects full staff reports. Full staff support. It's one thing to have a commission doing work, but if you don't have the staffing or the funding to make it happen, then again, you're not doing it any justice. And so that leads to a next step, that this is just establishing the people who are going to do the work and giving them some guidelines on their purpose in terms of studying the injury areas, coming back, telling us what proposals are needed to actually repair and to make reparations. So this commission will do the study. They will come back with proposals, and it is critically important that we start now organizing money so that they have the support that they need in order to do this work. And not only that, but we have to have people power as well. There is a flyer that they're handing out with all of their contact information. Make sure, please make sure that you reach out to them, that you join the coalition, because once the report comes out, we know that progress comes, but the white resistance is oftentimes so strong. And not only white resistance, but oftentimes our resistance. And so it is important for us to make sure that we are undergirding them with resources and support. So thank you all so much. I also want to just give a quick shout out to Melissa Johnson in the mayor's office, if she's listening. She put a lot of hours of work into this, and to the Kansas City Reparations Coalition. Thank you for all of your hard work.
What an insightful, knowledgeable, experienced panel committed, dedicated to reparations for Black Kansas Cityans. Come on, give them another round of applause, won't you? We're going to open this forum up to those who may have questions and comments. We're going to ask that individuals keep your questions and comments to 60 seconds or less. The initial question or comment is going to come from the mayor of the city of Kansas City, Missouri. Mayor Q is in the house. There was question mark as to whether he would be able to make it today based upon the correspondence we received from his office and staff. We are thankful and grateful that he is here, and we praise God for his leadership and his support of this issue. The first comment comes from our mayor, Mayor Quentin Lucas. God bless you, Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. Thank you to the entire panel for being here. I also want to say, as someone who has read the Kansas City Star his entire life, Sister Murray, you did transformative work in telling us about the greatness of our community as opposed to just writing about the challenges each and every day. I'm not going to say too much because you have a talented set of sisters and one brother on stage, but somebody didn't say enough about themselves, and that's Councilwoman Melissa Robinson. Let me be very clear and say that we would not have the reparations ordinance, we would not have the Mayor's Committee on Reparations, we would not have this bold and important step without Melissa Robinson. I'd like to give her a round of applause as well.
That's right. That's right. That's right. This is historic.
So Dr. Howard, I know that we all have 60 seconds, so I'll make sure I don't go too much longer.
Take the time you need, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Other than to say this one important step, which is now that we got this one step done, don't stop now. Keep paying attention, keep following up, keep pursuing, keep pushing us. And I'm going to be honest, not every day has been easy in my meetings with some of the folks on stage. And that's all right. That's how we get things done. That's how we actually keep moving and pushing. So I encourage you on the reparations topic, on the housing topic, on every issue. Because when I think about where, y'all remember what, I'll stop, I ain't going to campaign, but 4 years ago, what were they talking about at City Hall? All it was just some things like airports, talking about streetcars, talking about all types of other stuff. What are we talking about today? I'm not promising we're doing it perfectly, but we're talking about reparations. We're talking about housing. We're talking about a voice for our community. That is because of what happens in this room. That is what happens because of Sister Melissa, Sister Murray, Sister Janae, Sister Justice, Reverend Esther, all of y'all, Brother Will, and certainly Dr. Howard. Keep pushing. Keep making us listen to you each and every day. And more than anything, know that we are hearing you. Because you don't just need to elect people to City Hall to come visit y'all once every year. Not just on this day, but every day. We need to hear from you. We need that push. Because I'll make one final point. If we don't hear from you, we're going to hear from other people. And they're going to get their issues pushed. So make sure y'all keep pushing. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you, Dr. Howard. I appreciate you.
If you would now wave your hand to be acknowledged, a microphone will be brought to you. Wave your hand and then you will be acknowledged. Stand after being acknowledged to speak. Brother Owens, let's go right here. Address your question generally or specifically to any panelist.
No, I just want to address all the panelists. I just want to make a statement. I have an idea where the money can come from. Is that okay? So I have an idea where the money can come from. Part of it, I like to see the tax on marijuana, cigarettes, alcohol, and municipal court. I got a fine about a month ago. And when I looked on the fine and where my money went to, it says $1 for the police training and $4 for police training. That's $5. We can take that away, and we can get it from there. So these are some of the... No, I'm serious. These are some of the... Since we catch more tickets, we use more alcohol, we smoke more cigarettes, smoke more weed, let's tax that. We can start right there. If we can just tax all those items, we can start to end the hotel because they denied us public accommodations.
Thank you very much for that commentary, contributing to the community dialogue on reparations for Black Kansas Cityans. You can wave your hand to potentially be acknowledged, and then we ask you to identify your name and what municipality you live in. Brother Owens, we have a sister right there in front of you. Please identify your name and what municipality you live in.
Good evening, my brothers and sisters. My name is Ann, and I live in Raytown, Missouri. And I guess I have a general question or comment. And I want to also refer to the lady talking about education. You know, I can remember when I was in school, they didn't teach history about people of color. And a community center took on the responsibility of teaching that to us. And I remember taking, you know, history about people of color at that community center. And I thank for that opportunity. One of the things, I want to thank this facility for even allowing us to be here to voice our opinion. You know, the pastor here and all of his staff. And I want to thank, I don't want to not discredit, I want to thank what already has been done towards reparation. My general question is, the forum that here tonight, we're meeting here tonight, going forward, what are the immediate goals that we are due to accomplish? And is there a time frame to accomplish those immediate goals in regard to reparation?
We'll ask our chair, Brother Will Bowles, and our chair, Sister Justice, to respond to that question.
There's an immediate goal to form a hierarchical study, timelining based out of our injury areas, getting the timeline down of the exact harms, getting it located where they've happened, who's done it, and how it can be remediated. And so that time frame is 6 months to create that. And so then after that, that's when proposals will be drafted in that same time, frame to be brought about to the city.
And I'll say simultaneously what needs to be happening. So right now we're looking, our mayor, 90 days to appoint this commission. So that needs to happen first. But simultaneously, the coalition, we keep on. We have to go about the business of educating our community on those 5 injury areas. Tonight, we just gave a small snippet. There's some deep education that our community needs. And so the coalition will be hosting educational meetings. We want you all to be involved in that. But we want y'all to be deeply and intricately involved in this. We want you to be on the coalition. And you can choose an injury area to work in if you're passionate about criminal injustice or the health care. There are those of us, we lead those. I'm on criminal injustice. I'm dipping in health care too. So we will be coming together and talking about this so that our community is educated. So when the time comes, when that proposal comes about, and we can agree on it, we can say this is efficient for us. Or we can say, nah, we've been reading, we know what happened here. This is not adequate. And so that's the work that needs to happen going forward. I hope I answered your question.
Let me correct one thing on that. I'm pretty sure we have a year after the commission is created to develop those studies. And then 6 months after that is when we will create those proposals.
Next question. Anyone? Hands up, please. Right in the center, there is a sister with a black top. Please state your name and what municipality you live in.
Hello, my name is Mother Mary Moses Moore, and I live in the 3rd District. About 2 minutes away, I'm inside, I'm living right up in here, and where God squatted me.
Come on here.
15 years ago, after I came back from abroad living, I am one of Kansas City's historical musical artists, living history of Kansas City jazz, and a representation of that. And what I will say, I don't want to take up too much time here. The power, what my prayer is for all of y'all, and all of the plans that you have in motion, that we're going to have a commission on that, and we're going to talk about, and we're talking about timelines here, because the one thing that I heard the sister said, what do we want? Reparations. When do you want it? Now. Now, I understand that it takes time in the process of getting there to the actual benefit of that word reparations, that we can see and feel it and see it and touch it. My prayer for all of y'all is that you stay on one accord, because that's where the power is. That's where the power lies. If you all are representing that, stay on the same page. And the one way to do that is to keep the one I am in the midst of it. I'm talking about God.
Thank you, Sister
Because
Moses. God
that is
bless
what
you.
has kept us. And so I am very thankful for this moment that you, at least because God said plant the seed.
Thank you, Mother dear. We've got to be fair to everybody.
All
You're
right,
beyond
and
your
so
60
let it grow.
seconds. Thank you, and God bless you. Do we have another hand that is up? Let's go here to the... Well, I'll deal with this, brother. We'll go here, right here. Please, on this side. Yes, and then we'll work our way back. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kesley Spotsville, and I am on the Coalition for the Community Remembrance Project of Missouri. I wanted to say something to everyone here. We actually are in coalition with the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery, Alabama, and our partner organizations here are the Missourians Against the Death Penalty, as well as the Black Archives of Mid-America and the Bruce R. Watkins Cultural Center. We are dedicated to 3 pillars regarding people of African descent in this country, and that is remembrance, repair, and restoration. And so we are and have been commemorating the deaths of over 60 lynched individuals across the state. We have actually we have a miniature version of the exhibit in Montgomery at the Black Archives of Mid-America. And what I'm asking really is that just to let you all know what we're doing, and this initiative will probably take us about 10 years, but we are looking to partner with all of you interested in countering white supremacy in this country, in this city, and how that operates in our 9 areas of people activity. What we have coming up on April 15th is a convening at the Black Archives, and we would like all groups, no matter if you're in any of these 5 areas or other areas that are interested in restoration of justice, actually economic repair, because it's all based in economics for us, and then building memory of how lynched individuals and people of white racial terror were actually and still continue to be terrorized in this country. So we are convening on the 15th. We would love to see you. If you have any questions, come see me. You can also always inquire at the Black Archives or Dr. Carmeletta Williams, and any of us about what's going to come up on April 15th. We would love to see you all there.
Thank
okay?
you, dear.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear sister. God bless you. We appreciate the work of the Black Archives of Mid-America. Sister in the yellow, if you would stand, we want to ask people to focus your questions and comments on reparations for Kansas City and this issue. Please, to the panel.
Yes, so first off, my name is Janae Manley, and I live in Kansas City. I want to say thank you to y'all for the work you've done. I also want to ask, so we know that there's a lot of press around this reparations coalition right now. How do we continue to bring the community along so that when the recommendations come out, we've already got our folks rallied around this, and they've come along that process with us? What is the role of the commission to make sure that our communities are constantly engaged in the process for the next year?
As the coalition, as the commission is created, the Kansas City Reparations Coalition is still in full effect. And so there will be forums held educating and talking to the community furthermore about these injury areas, about developments, about how we can help, about what can be enacted in to continue the public engagement. You have anything, sister?
Yeah. So, Sister Janae, thank you for your question. We want to keep our community informed, and we want our community to be working with us. So folks who take the flyer that we have and get in touch with us, they're able to join into any of those injury areas in a, in a smaller group setting, as well as the larger group meeting. In those group meetings, we foresee we'll be giving updates on what is happening with the commission, and anything that comes out of the commission, maybe they're saying, hey, you all, we need the coalition to do this. Those are the kinds of things we'll bring back to the larger body to say, we need to work on this as a community. And so for us, this is truly a marathon. Y'all know I know about the marathons and how we get there. And this is the second piece of that, taking that baton and really, really bringing our community in. So that might mean we're going to get together and have lunch. That might mean a potluck. That might mean bringing to a community space like this. Bringing experts in to go over the different injury areas, doing surveys, getting more of the community voice implemented into what the commission does. All of that is things that we are going to do and more.
May I also, I do believe the city has a role in that as well. We get all of the emails, and so many emails of people who like it, who don't like it, and so we do know that there is a great deal of people who are ignorant about reparations, as well as not really understanding what this ordinance sets to do, to develop a proposal, but not to offer reparations off the bat. And so we'll be working with our communication staff and hopefully with the Kansas City Star, Ms. Williams, to really help to educate people about the process, what reparations are, in lockstep with the Reparations Coalition, to make sure that this happens and that we all are on one accord. But the city will have to also take responsibility in educating its public about this reparations as well.
Amen. Mother dear, please.
Good evening. My name is Algie Mason, and I'm in Independence, Missouri. I have a two-part question. Will the reparations focus only on the Kansas City residents or to other Black residents in the greater Kansas City metro area? And the second part, if it only applies to the Kansas City residents, then what recommendations do you have for Black residents in the suburban areas of Kansas City metropolitan?
The ordinance that we have right now is for the city of Kansas City, for Kansas City residents. There is a section in the ordinance that also encourages other organizations, municipalities, groups to look at this as well. We do believe, and I won't speak for the Coalition on Reparations, but obviously there will be some opportunity or some availability of information that if other municipalities wanted to use it as a framework, but the mayor and the co-sponsors and also the coalition have been very clear that we want to be specific as to what Kansas City's contribution was. And so that's what our focus will be for this particular ordinance. I would also encourage you to take a look at the 2020 one edition of the Urban League of Greater Kansas City, their State of Black Kansas City. They did their report last year. It's online. And they also have some conversations about reparations there that other municipalities, other folks can do too. So our ordinance is specifically focused on the city of Kansas City.
Sister Small, please.
Good evening. My name is Shafika Small, and I live in Kansas City, Missouri. And I first thank everyone on the panel for the work that has been done, because oftentimes we see the end result or the middle result of something, and we don't understand how much organizing has gone into getting just to this point. The question that I have is about some of the smaller subcategories, and I don't mean small in terms of the impact, but the subcategories that are going to come out of the restorative justice. Examples like in education, Missouri is very much staunch against what's called critical race theory, and that has become a headline for writing out American history as it pertains to people of African descent. So my question has to do with policy. Is there going to be some level of policy that will actually address things at the state level and the federal level? Because things like critical race theory have already been proven with other cultures, like indigenous people that are being restored right now, for having their culture be erased by there being no acknowledgement whatsoever of not just the atrocities against them, but our actual presence here in this country. And so I would like to know at what stage, or is that a consideration? And it would apply to any of the other of injury as well, how that's going to be addressed from a policy perspective.
Any panelists want to address that?
Yes, peace, Sister Chair. Thank you for coming out. I can just speak briefly on this and pass. Knowing that this is out of the city of Kansas City, whatever policies are put forth by the Mayor's Commission on Reparations will be enacted within the city. And there's a barrier that blocks state and federal policies going outside of the city realms to that. So that's how those would be enacted. Now, we do have an African-centered education facility here in the city that is one that combats that critical race theory, and so we know that we will be supporting that as well. It's just something.
No, Brother Will, you answered that perfectly. The only thing I want to say is, Sister Shafika, you know I'm about that business, so state level stuff, we got to get with the folks who are going to be riding, going to the Capitol and doing that. So we can talk after this for sure. Critical race theory, we are seeing how that's trying to erase our history. Brother Will is right, though. In Kansas, I know coming up, Genesis, like I said, we need Genesis. The community centers, that's where I learned anything about an Angela Davis or a Black Panther. I didn't even know Black Panthers were in Kansas City until I went to Genesis and learned about that wonderful, rich history. So we hear you, sister, but for what we're doing, it is specific to local Kansas City. But that is important work.
And just really quickly, we do acknowledge that full reparations do need to come from the federal government. Yeah. This is something that the federal government does need to take up.
That's right.
Do a small
That's
piece,
right. That's right.
This is a federal issue.
That's right. That's right. Dear sister, you have the mic.
Khadijah Hardaway, my question is about loss of land. I'm pretty sure a lot of us have family stories about losing land. So I want to know if your reparation plan would include loss of land, especially at the federal level. Then my second question is to Melissa, and it's about reform in all of these areas. Would the reparations package include reform, including, well, more specifically for criminal justice?
So just real quick, our focus would be on local. So the federal, we're not this body isn't organized to work on the federal stuff. So it would be local.
And criminal justice is a part of the injury area that was spoken of before, and so that will be covered, Sister Khadija. And we're, as a part of this process, those proposals are going to come forth, and that's why it is important for us to connect. I know oftentimes we wait so long, and we feel like, you know, if we don't get it exactly immediately, then we're going to be denied it, and that's because of the historical harm that's been done. But we definitely want to make sure that we get this right and that this proposal is sound. One of the reasons why the mayor, I believe, sent it to the Special Committee on Legal Review in terms of the committee that's overseeing this is to make sure that we don't run afoul with what we call state preemption, where a lot of the things that we might propose to do, we can't do because it's maybe unconstitutional to do. So it is going to require a lot of review, a lot of oversight, a lot of imagination, and we look forward to getting to the root causes of our conditions today. But it's going to take some time. 1 year, 12 months.
Amen. Dear sister, you have
one more. That's just to mention land.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, she mentioned land and we didn't address it, but yes, to your question about land.
And just to add to that, we compiled studies showing how I-70 tore through, you know, our communities, tore down houses just to be built, as well as I-71 and I-70. And so those both destroyed communities to go through. Now, as far as the state and federal regulations, we cannot go, the ordinance cannot go through that, as Councilwoman Robinson said. However, we are in collaboration, and we are speaking with other states that are enacting these same local codes. And so we are in collaboration. These are brainstormed, and so that's where that lies.
We have our dear sister here. Then, as a point of pivot, we have two questions back, Brother Owens, where you are. We're going to go to those two brothers afterwards. We got Brother Bill and then the other brother there. We are then going to pivot afterwards to Reverend Holzendorf to let us know where we go from here. And then our great bishop, Bishop James D. Tyndall Sr., is going to close this forum out with his wisdom and final comments. Please, sister.
Good evening. Sorry for my voice.
Your name and municipality, please.
It's True Keisha Smith, and I am a 3rd District long time. I've been here for a lifetime. Let's just say that. And I'm curious, what are you going to do? How are you thinking about addressing, you know, the pushback? When we think about reparations, it is a specific target group, and it has a, you know, you think historically about 40 acres and mule in a check. And what I'm hearing up here kind of, you know, goes away from that a little bit. So how are you going to address that for the individuals that say, well, that may not be, they may not be hearing true reparations?
Well, through community guidance and speaking with the community is how these things will be guided. However, the commission will be the creator of those entities, and so that will be eligibility. These questions are something that the commission itself are going to rectify.
Brother Bill.
Yes, my name is Bill Grace, and I'm one of the founding members of the Kansas City chapter of the National Black United Front. I want to make a statement that to the extent that the transatlantic slave trade were crimes against humanity, there's no statute of limitations on crimes against humanity. So I just want to clarify that particular issue, then we can move on. Thanks.
Amen. Thank you, Brother Bill. God bless you. Brother right there. He's right there behind you. Mm-hmm. That's him. Yes, thank you.
Hi, my name is Vincent Alexandria. My living room, what's up, brother? My living room is in Raytown, and my dining room is in Kansas City, Missouri. What I wanted to ask was, do you guys have a website where people can sign up and put suggestions that they have on the website, sign up to volunteer, and get the who, what, when, why, where, and how on the Reparations Committee?
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, brother.
There is no website currently. We do have an email, kcreparations@gmail.com, that we are taking full notice, and everyone that is reaching out and responding to wanting to take a part and be active within the cause. Also have a sign-in sheet in the back where you can provide your number and your email to be followed up upon. And we do have a Facebook as well, and so there is that. So KC Reparations, maybe Coalition, I'm bad with those tags, okay? So
Shameless plug. We need a website. So if you want to volunteer your time, talent, and efforts for the Kansas City Coalition website creation, we would greatly appreciate it.
And Vincent, you can see Brother Mickey Dean back here for more information on how to contact the KC Reparations Coalition. Without a doubt, within 90 days, when the commission is established, there will be, without a doubt, ways to communicate with the commission both ways as we move forward. But please see Mickey Dean. Brother Mickey, wave your hand, and you can see Brother Mickey Dean before we leave. And that's it for everybody else in here in the house. Brother Mickey, in fact, this is a great time to everybody put your hands together and give God praise for Brother Mickey Baba Dean in the house tonight. Brother Mickey! We're going to begin to pivot. I want to redact or edit one piece of comment from myself. We're going to go to Reverend Hosendorf, where we go from here. She's going to take her allotted 3 to 5 minutes. From there, we will go to Councilwoman Park Shaw for comments. God bless you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your support. Councilman Lee Barnes is in the house. We want to give him space and platform as well after Councilwoman Park Shaw, and then we will pivot to a mass celebration. Listen, my brothers and sisters, the night ain't over. It's just now starting. Don't leave after this. God is going to bless us with a mass celebration celebrating the birth and life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. After we're done, we're going to pivot for 5 minutes and start up our mass celebration. All right? Reverend Hosendorf.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to see you. I just want to talk to you for a few minutes. Brother Mickey, I think we're going to have to call a family reunion. Make sure you have your contact information on one of those sheets of paper back there. We want to get in touch with you. I just want to talk to you about us, just for a few minutes. Dr. Vernon Johns is known as the father of the civil rights movement, and he said, if you see a good fight, get in it. Reparations is a good fight, y'all. I'm from down home, so I say some y'alls and how you doing, sugar, and that sort of thing. No disrespect intended. Reparations is owed to us. We're not begging. We're demanding. When we came to this country, we were not slaves. They brought us here to make us into slaves. It was chattel slavery. It wasn't just slavery. The laws of the United States of America gave people permission and a legal right to own us. And my great-grandma, I had 2 great-grandmothers who were born into chattel slavery. I lived in the house with one of them. I'll soon be 85 years old. I know a little bit about our history, and she talked to me about it. She said, baby, they turned us out like cattle in 1865 with nothing but the clothes on our back. They had never been off the plantation, but they survived. And they didn't just survive, they thrived. And they brought us to where we are. They built bridges, and they taught us to be strong, to be principled, to walk with dignity and hold your head up. That's who we are. We're kings and we're queens and we're princesses. We're somebody, y'all, and we're going to fight. We're not going to beg. Begging is over. I'm tired of my people begging. We don't owe anybody anything. They stole everything they got, and they stole it from us. I want it back. How about you? So where do we go from here? We go to the fight. We go to the heat of battle, and we take back everything the enemy stole from us with interest. Freedom is a place. So we are at our place now. The door is open. We're going through it. We're going to kick our way in, and we're going to stand together. We're going to have this family reunion. I just want to talk to y'all. We got to be willing to organize and strategize and implement a plan of action that will help us to get to our mission. Our mission. Some of us are not going because some of us, we are too happy just living in the big house. But some of us who don't mind admitting to the fact that our great-grandmas and great-great-grandpas, see, they worked in the fields. But they went down in the holler and they put the baskets over their head, and they prayed and they cried out to God, send us a deliverer. And God sent Mother Harriet and the Underground Railroad and the Quakers, and look at us now. Thank you for allowing me to talk to you for a few minutes. I got a few more things I want to say to you, family. So when Brother Mickey and them send out the call, I want y'all to come to the family reunion. Will y'all do that? Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to eat some sandwiches together, and we're going to fry some chicken or do whatever it is we have to do. And then we're going to get close to each other, and then we're going to talk about how we're going to get in the heat of this battle together, and we're going to come out victorious. God bless you. I love you.
Yeah, Mother Esther. Yeah, Mother Esther, God bless you. Yeah, Mother Esther, God bless you. Councilwoman Park Shaw, Councilman Lee Barnes will greet us, and then we'll close out with our spiritual elder of this community, Bishop James D. Tyndall Sr. Please.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Proud to be here representing Kansas City's 5th District. I just want to give another shout out to my fearless Councilwoman Robinson. It's an honor to serve with you. As she says, she's agitating when there are many times you don't see things on the camera. You can actually see a lot of it on Channel 2, but there's a lot of agitating that she does through our halls. But one of the things I want to convey to you is in 12 months, in the future, we anticipate, obviously, 6 of our council members will be turning over as they'll be terming out. So if you don't hear anything else today, please make sure you get to Mickey Dean. Make sure you reach out, send the email, on the Facebook page, because as Councilman Robinson already stated, it takes a vote of 7 to get anything done in City Council. So as these recommendations come forward to us in a year or whenever they come forward, we're going to need 7 votes to make it happen. And how we do that is hearing more from you all, because we know that there are going to be some naysayers who are not going to want whatever the recommendations are. So we need everybody to get involved. It's going to take all of us to work together to make sure that we can make these reparations give us what we deserve. So thank you so much for the opportunity to speak, and thank you all for your commitment to this and the work that you've done so far and the work you will continue to do.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Howard. I'm going to be real brief and just say that I want to thank the commission for all of the work that they've done. I've been on a lot of the emails with the back and forth between the mayor's office and the coalition. But the next group I want to thank are all of you, because without you putting forth some effort and making sure that the coalition is supported, this won't happen. So let's, as Mother Esther said, let's gird our loins and get behind each other. And I also like what Queen Mother Moore said, was make sure we stay cohesive and on one accord. That's how we'll get this done. Thank you.
Our bishop is going to close us out. Before he does, we want to acknowledge two other supporters of reparations for Black Kansas Citians. If you would please stand. Councilwoman Andrea Boo, are you here? Won't you stand? God